All right, so this is session 1 on personal narratives. What is a personal narrative? Because you'll be working on personal narratives for several weeks. So let's get started on what it is. If you look at the screen, it's a very simple explanation. A personal narrative is a story that tells you something about your life, whether it's a special time, an event, an experience, or a person. And it's a true story from your life. The author is you. And it helps the reader learn about the author from your point of view. And it also includes sensory details to help the reader see and hear, feel, smell, and taste what you are describing. But not on this list is that your personal narrative have to be significant moments that somehow changed you in a way or taught you something. All right. So in order for that to happen, let's talk a little bit about what session 1 includes. First, I want you to think about a past teacher who's tried to teach you about crafting powerful true stories in the small moments of your life. In 6th grade, the expectations of daily writing, you're going to be expected to fill at least a page and a half of your notebook every day with a compelling true story. Now, that might sound a little bit intimidating, but I want you to remember that you have done this in 5th grade, 4th grade, 3rd grade, 2nd grade, 1st grade, and kindergarten. And storytelling is part of the human experience. So I am absolutely, completely confident that you are capable of doing that. Second, I want to teach you and remind you that as a writer, that you can not only get help from each other and from me, but you can also get help from texts that others have written. I do that all the time when I write. I always look at mentor texts. That's what it's called. And to learn from these written texts, you have to study them as not only a reader, but as a writer. You have to imagine the strategies the writer has used, and you have to try to use these strategies on your own. It's kind of like a wedding cake. So thinking about a wedding cake, you ask yourself, how did this wedding cake happen? Let me just go on to wedding cake. So wedding cakes are cool to look at, right? So take a look at this yummy wedding cake, right? We're looking at it and we're thinking to ourselves, wow, how did someone make that? So we're going to start our year this year by studying a personal narrative that another 6th grader has made. All right, so let's see. I'm going to read that 6th grade narrative to you. And what I want you to do is I'm going to ask you to think about this narrative, and I'm going to include that narrative in a few seconds so we can explore it together. Okay, so we are looking at personal narratives, and I'm going to show you a personal narrative that really encapsulates what good writing is. Allie's narrative. This is from a 6th grader. I shivered a little bit. It's pretty cold, I said, as I dipped my toes in the water. I took a pebble and threw it far into the creek. Now, well, whatever, I said as I plunged into the cold water. It felt amazing. The cold water covered my eyes like gentle blankets, and the water washed over me like a breeze. Swimming is my favorite. Wait up, yelled Emma as she ran down the hill with her floaty wrapped around her waist. Her curly brown hair whipped around in the breeze. I shivered. I was cold already. A moment after that, India's mom waded in, laughing. Ha, it's cold, she said. Then she stopped. Girls, out of the water. She pushed us back to shore. I looked back and saw a long, thin water snake slithering towards us. I gasped. I quickly swam underwater in big, wide strokes. Now, I want you to ask yourself, what got to me in this piece? What part worked for me? How did the author do that? Now, I want you to mark up a piece of this writing, circle things that are wow and awesome. So when I look at this, I might want to, let's see, I think wow and awesome is the dialogue here for me. So circle things that are wow and awesome, underline words that you don't know or things that kind of confuse you. Write your thoughts and your feelings and connections and mark this up. All right. So here are some rules for keeping a writer's notebook. You always want to stay in the notebook. You date each entry. You leave the back for each entry blank. The length has to be 1.5 pages. You make quick lists, and one entry can have more than one story idea within it. All right? So good luck.